This little lady here, I knew her when she was real small. I worked at the grocery store, and her folks lived right behind the store. She's very nice. Her brother worked for me for a while. She said they removed his stomach. That's funny, I tell you. And then there was Lonnie Garrett, his wife. Lonnie lives in Waco now, but I tell you what, they have a son that can whip a piano. I don't know if he played for Baylor now or not, but he can really whip a piano. Really good. It's very.
Now, one of the things I asked June about, and I wanted to ask you as well, is that one of the things that we've heard about in Marlin's history is the sit-in at Houston's restaurant as part of the civil rights movement. Do you remember when that happened, or do you remember anything about it?
The only thing I remember is when it all started. But you know what's been so strange about this? I never ever understood it. You know, I grew up with it. I love them just like I would anybody else. And they had a part down in the Palace Cafe, which sat by the Palace Theater down there. And you can see right back there where they went and sat. And I'd go to Brian Drugstore and go and get a bowl of stew. I'd go back there and sit back there with him half the time. I mean, you know, I don't know where we really had that much trouble. Of course, you know, I think we had 2 or 3 parades and went through it, but I never. I don't remember anything in Houston. I remember when they were going in the Palace restaurant down there, and Brady was the sheriff at that time, and he went down there, and he was standing outside the door when he came up. And I think the fellow was from New York or Chicago or somewhere, and he said, "We're going to eat." Indeed. I said, "Go on." But a lot of them didn't go because Brady was standing there, and they turned around and went back. But I think several of them went in. But I never remember a sit-in down there that may have been. Because June told you we weren't married that long.
Right.
We've been married about 6 years. So I would go down there and drink coffee myself. But I don't remember that.
Well, we're trying to identify some key historic moments in Marlin's history, and and that was one that was brought up. I know June was telling us about the Bluebonnet.
Oh yeah, they used to go outside of town, and the Bluebonnets never all over those hills. That's beautiful. Of course, you know we've killed a lot of this stuff with DDT and some of them are coming back, but we sprayed so much stuff. Like the highway killed all of them for years. Now they've decided they're pretty and they don't mow them until after they see them. Right? I don't know exactly. I think really what started our downfall was the fact that they started using cortisone after World War II, and people, instead of coming here to take hot baths and get a little relief, they could give them a shot. And I think that was kind of because we had 3 hospitals, bathhouses. It's just a different time. But I mean, I worked at the drugstore. We had people out of this hotel would walk around at night, come in and shop, and get a soda or something. And of course, you know that all left with no baths anymore. Of course, you ever gone by and taken a drink of our water? It still runs.
I have.
Have you gone down there and sat down? We have a foot tub down there now. You can go in there and turn those on and get in there and put your feet in the water.
No, I think it's great water. I think it's great water, and I agree.
Now, it will clean you out, but you know the Giant baseball team came here for the first one to sober them up. The second time, because it had so much sulfur in it, was good for venereal disease at one time and several other things. But the hot baths, great. Of course, you know, don't offer them anywhere anymore down there. Not any. They have some over here, but they haul the water. I think the great thing is when the water comes right out from under the ground. I mean, when you haul it, it sets, then you have to reheat it to use it, so does your chemicals and stuff. Now, the well at the hospital is drilled way down below, so it doesn't have near the mineral in it that the other one does. The other one is boiling down there in the sulfur and all the rest of it.
They're using that to generate heat.
Yes,
Yeah.
right. But I think that's when we started our downfall. You know, when you start losing, we had thousands of people come here every year. Mom had a hotel in the Woodard Courts out there. It's called Courts back then, but he would run them out by the month or a year. People come and stay and got to be friends. Some federal judge came here from Chickasaw, Oklahoma, and I think it's Henry Van and I double dated those two girls for a while they were here. It was just a good time. We really
I mean, is there any responsibility to be placed on the leadership? I mean, because one of the things I've heard is in the 80s and the 90s that the city council was very conservative and they didn't approve a lot of new businesses.
Well, I think what really happened on that was that I think it got too much fighting amongst themselves. They weren't kind of like, if you're too young to know that, you get a pair of mules, they got to go the same way. You can't get one pulling this way and one there and expect
that's right.
Plow roads. So, I mean, that's where we were. We just kind of stalemated. But I think we finally decided we got to get on the same page. If we don't, we're going to flip through the cracks.
Well, now, and to be perfectly frank, you know, part of the problem now is getting North and South Marlin to pull in the same direction.
I went to a meeting, we had a city meeting, and I was so pleased because I heard some things that should have been said a long time about our schools that needed to be said because everything, instead of being on a black-white issue, it was on a, let's get a kid educated, and that's what we need to do. And I mean, you know, my contention, I was on the school board and I got in trouble because they told us to go out and find black teachers. Look, we couldn't find them. There weren't enough out there because, you know, Dallas Fort Worth, they would pay more than we could pay for it. But my contention was, I said, you know, I really don't think that they should be, I think they should get the best. And they didn't like what I said. And why, I don't know. Still, if our student's sitting there, wouldn't you want your student to have the best? I would. And I'm one of these that believes this. If you're sitting there and you need a liver transplant, are you going to ask me if I'm Hispanic, Chinese, or whatever? If I match, will you take my liver? Will you take my pint of blood? Well, the Lord made us all the same. I mean, you know, we may have different features, and a lot of it comes back probably to the way they were raised. I shot marbles with everybody. I mean, they've always been my friend. I don't know where so much of this probably stirs up from outside people. I mean, I don't think it's from our local folks. I think we all get along fine. At least I do.
Yeah, but I mean, the local folks, I mean, there's some tension.
Well, I hope not. If it's got tension with me, I'd sure sit down and talk.
Well, not tension with you specifically, but I mean, there's a feeling in South Marlin that they haven't been treated as well as the people in North Marlin by the city council over the years and the Chamber of Commerce.
Well, any one of them join the chamber? It don't matter. And we met them on the board, and I'm trying to think right now. I know 2 or 3 awards have been given to. I mean, I don't think that should be a problem. I mean, you know, of course, you know. I or you or anybody else can think of some reason that things didn't go to suit you. Maybe the Democrats didn't do what I wanted them to do, the Republicans didn't do what you wanted, whatever. But I mean, I still go back. If you want it to work, you got to work together. You can't fuss all the time. That ain't gonna get it done. But
what do you think happened with the schools? How did the schools end up like that?
Well, what happens what happened in Dallas? When you have flight, you have problems. I mean, when people move out, this is a problem, you know. They didn't stand their ground. I think had all these people that went out and moved to a different school district or moved where they'd be in a different school district. So, you know, my kids all went to school here. They did fine. I mean, I don't know. Of course, you know, discipline has something to do with it. Of course, you know, is that the school people's fault? They don't know. Your justice system is ruined, just like it ruined their prison system. I mean, you know, William A. Justice said you can't do this, you can't do that. We used to have a self-sustaining prison system. We don't have it anymore. The same thing applies. You can't spank a kid in school anymore. They never asked if they could spank me. If I did something wrong, I got it in the clothes closet. I go root for them every time I get a chance. I can't climb the bleachers anymore like I used to, but I got a new knee this year, so maybe next year. But I have no problem with it. I didn't. At 64, when Booker T had a great team, Marlin had a great team, I went to both games. I've always gone to their games the same as I did the other. I have no problem with it. Most of them are like old Lonnie. They're out there since a little kid. They are good folks.
No, I mean it's.
There's always some on both sides.
Yeah.
And I can understand that. I just happen to be one of these that I have no problem.
No, I think most people don't. That's my experience. I've been interviewing maybe 100 people.
You qualify yourself in what you do. There wasn't anybody important. I mean, you can stand there and say, because, wait, that's not so. My mama patched my britches and I went to school on a bicycle. She didn't have a car. I bought the first car when I got back out of the Navy. She didn't have a car after Daddy died. I mean, you know. So, I mean, to tell you the truth, there was no social, no welfare checks. There was nothing for her. We had 2 milk cows and chickens. You get out and work and get what you want. You don't just sit there and moan and complain or want somebody to give you something. At least that's my idea to it. And I think maybe sometime we won't give it. I think we got too much welfare, not enough work.
Well, I grew up poor. I joined the Army when I was 17 because I had nowhere else to go. So I know what it takes. And I've now got a very good career.
Sure, but see, you worked.
Because I worked, so I understand exactly what you're saying.
I've told so many people. I said, you know, if you don't teach your kid anything else, if you give him the ability to work, he can be a rocket scientist or whatever he wants to. But if he doesn't know how to do it, you can have it all up here. If you don't do anything with it, you haven't got nothing. So I mean, the same thing applies today. You know, people have to work if they want something. And I think drugs is the worst thing. They're worried about what's going over in the robbery down. When you south of our border down there, we've got a problem. And that problem is already here, and we're the problem because we're letting them sell it, give it to these kids. I see kids walk the street. To me, it's a crying shame that their lives are ruined. I know one of them, I've talked to him I don't know many times trying to get him straight, you know, and he just absolutely, he said, Mr. Evans, you don't know how good it feels. I said, ain't nothing can make me feel that I would want to be in the shape you're in. And that's where they get. And to me, and I'm talking about our whole country. I'm not talking about here. I think it's all over.
I think you're right. Yeah.
You know, Marlin, Posh Altar, who lived across the street from me. Posh and Linda Johnson were real good friends. And when Tom Conley died, Posh worked for Brown Rudy. He was a lobbyist for him, and he flew back to Marlin. But he also had Miss Stegall, who was a Forbes that lived here. He was Lyndon Johnson, Miss Johnson's personal secretary, and he is still. She got too old, and I think had to quit. We have a lot of history back in the government. Of course, Marvin Lee was a congressman from here. We've had a lot of good people come out.
No, you have.
But you have to want to do something. You know. did you know Kip Avery before he quit?
No, I didn't know.
Kip was really good. I like Kip. You could talk to him, and I think, but you know, I worry. The VA, we worked so hard to get it flipped over to the state hospital. We got 70% of the inmates are right in within 100 miles a year. That's a wonderful thing. Why would you think that you're saving money busing them to Galveston, Texas?